Thank you for joining me. Today I'm going to be covering a drink, a swirled drink. This one is going to be one of the last one of the cherry theme, but the technique we're using can create them in many different colors. We're going to be marbling. So as you can see, there's three very different swirls and results. You have a certain amount of control over what the marbling will do, but not a complete amount of control. But I figured I'd show you. These are this is a great color for the black cherry or for raspberry. Another thing you can do is ice cream cones with the same marbling technique. And with the same marbling technique, here I have 3 iced coffees. I have a latte, a cappuccino, and a mocha. So using the same marbling technique, you can do all sorts of mixed drinks and swirls. Actually, something I hope to do later today, if I get enough time, is with the same color we're using today for the drinks, it would be a great like black cherry or red raspberry swirled brownie, like a brownie bottom cheesecake and raspberry swirled top. I'm hoping I can get to that. Like I show an ice cream cone here. At some point I'll show you guys that. And then with the tops can be done in many different ways. So I'll kind of explain the different ways that I've done it while I'm doing it. We're going to go ahead and get started now. Something I wanted to mention, because white is difficult to work with, is my work surface here. You've probably noticed in my written tutorials I always work on white paper. I actually usually have several sheets of white paper in a row, at least 3. This helps act as a buffer between a cold working surface and my conditioned clay. If it's too cold, it could become unconditioned really fast, which is a bad thing in things like caning. So if I have multiple sheets together, straight from the ream of paper, I grab a small stack, I work on it. If I put my white clay down, I put it down on a fresh sheet right after removing the top sheet, because as you know, dust just settles in the air. And then after I touch absolutely anything, I take a white piece of clay and I knead it until I remove any excess lint from my hands. White is the worst with the lint. So this is what I do to help keep my hands clean before I start on my project or between colors. I use a baby wipe. The baby wipes I use are Kirkland. I know this is a long intro, but I did want to discuss that because it is hard to keep white clean. Something you can do at the end of your project too, as you can see I have a tiny piece of lint here. I left it on. You could actually sand it with a little bit of that wet dry sandpaper. It could be underwater or dry. With removing lint, you're not going to be sanding it for a long time. You just brush the surface off until the lint comes off. And in a blended drink like this, it might even uncover some other additional raspberry layers, which could be fun. So from here, I have white and translucent mixed. It's 1/3 white to 2/3 translucent. My black cherry color, which is good for raspberry too, is actually, it's plum in the Sculpey 3. It's 1/3 of that to 2/3 of the Primo Translucent. Here's my Primo Translucent, just for anyone who hasn't seen it. I use a lot of translucent, so I get my translucent and white in the 8-ounce packages. All the other colors I get 2-ounce. I don't use them often enough. Ecru would be the only other exception. I use a lot of ecru. So I'll do it on the table here. So I condition and roll out the white. And I'm going to go ahead and put a cut in the clay. Just from picking up those packages, I got lint on my hands. I'm hoping it focuses, but there's lint here, 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 and it was completely white before I picked up that package of clay. So yeah, it is an issue. So anytime you touch anything, you want to come back and knead your white lint clay to remove any lint from your hands. So this is going to be a very, very long tutorial. I'll go ahead and put in notes that I really start at about 4 minutes in. Okay, so for this, I actually use less of the raspberry color than I do of the white. So if you see it next to each other, it's quite a bit thinner. And then I marble. So I twist, 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 twist. For those of you who already are familiar with marbling, you could always fast forward past this part. Then I fold it in half and twist it again. So we just keep doing this. Twisting, rolling, twisting, rolling. Basically until you're happy with the results. You want to twist it enough to get a lot of nice stripe variations, but more narrow stripe variations. And you don't want to mix it so much that it becomes pink, just a solid pink, because it will eventually mix into one color. It will resist for a while, but it will eventually become one solid color if you continue marbling. So I'm going to fold it in half and twist again. This is more for those of you who are beginning, as far as just showing the whole marbling technique. It's actually really easy, but I wanted to show it start to finish in at least one of my tutorials, where you can see how many times I turn and twist, and it will vary. It's never exactly the same, but as you can see, it's starting to come along here. And I'm going to twist again. And as you can see, there's like a lot of nice color play in there now. We're getting closer to the end here. This is what you're more used to when you see marble. I think I'm just going to do it one more time. And you get some really good, interesting results. I do this if I'm doing a wood grain, like if you're wanting to do a cutting board. I fold it into, you could do it an S or an E. It's just folding it into thirds rather than twisting it again. And then you roll it again. I'll do it in my hands to start out with, because it's crinkling up my paper. So with wood grain, it creates knots. You can see how the color changes. So it gives you more of that knotted look that you get in real wood. I actually want mine quite stripy because I'm hoping to use this for the raspberry cheesecake later. So I'm just going to twist. If you twist like that, you start getting all of those little fun twisted variations. So what I'm going to do for my drink here, now if it's exactly the right thickness of your drink, the log that you have rolled out, you can actually just cut a portion and start shaping it from here, where you start just rolling the back end to make it thinner than the top. I personally like to roll them into a ball, but I always cover the end that has all of those little, the inside of the marbled. So I pinch until I close that off, and then I roll it in a ball. I like doing this because sometimes it makes the marbling more interesting. So here's my little marbled ball here. And to shape my cup, I choose what I want the side of my cup to be, and then I start rolling it with one index finger, and then I leave my opposite index finger on the side of it. That's the top. And I let that part be thicker, and I put more pressure on the side of my index finger that's with my middle finger, and I just roll, roll, roll. I will make a written tutorial on here so you guys could see my measurements. The log right here looks like it's about a 1/2 inch, and I usually take like a 3/4 inch cut before I roll it into a ball, just so you know the measurements if you're doing this before I have the written tutorial up. Okay, so that's basically my cup. There's the raspberry swirl there. So from here, I go ahead and I take an index finger and I put a tiny bit of TLS on it, and I put it on the top of my cup. From there, I dip it upside down into some micro glass beads, and that is my ice. So you can see them slightly here on the camera, but that's my ice. Now I'm going to show you straws real quick. If you wanted to cut a portion of this and roll it out really thin, you could make yourself striped straws. This is another example of a striped straw. It was from my rainbow. Lollipops. But you just roll it thin, cook it straight, and then you chop little tiny straws. Now, here I have some black clay. I chose to do mine in black just because I wanted some contrast, and I do my coffee drinks in the black, and in case anyone wanted a coffee drink and a black cherry mixed drink, it'd be the same color. So I conditioned a little bit of black. You cook it, and then once you actually finish cooking it, you'll just take a little piece off, and that'll be your straw. So once you are finished, oh, here it is. See, I thought that I had lost it. Okay, so let me take a chop off of here real quick. So that's my straw. What I'm going to do is take the drink that we just had, that we just rolled, and I like to roll it around and find what I like my front to be. If this is where you want your front, set your straw off to one side or the other. It could be the left or the right, whatever you like. I tend to like the right. I take my safety pin, I poke and do a little circle to make myself a space there. I put the end of my straw in a little bit of the TLS, and I poke it into my drink. And from here, we are ready to bake our little drink. I bake it once. This one's already been baked. So I've already baked this one. Now what I'm going to do is I take some of the black that I rolled out into a snake, and that's going to be the rim of my cup. And there's a few ways that you could do rims of cups. I'm going to paint a little bit of TLS just around the rim of the cup underneath the ice. But I did want to mention a couple ways while I'm doing this, so you're not limited to just the way that I'm doing it. You can roll out some clay flat that you want to be the rim of the cup. And if you roll it flat, you could take a thin slice and you could go along the rim of your glass, and then you could put a roll on top. And that way it looks like that, more of a true glass. I did that partially here. It's not focusing well. I think it might be because of the, there we go. So I have a flat piece of clay rolled around the bottom. Then I actually took another piece and I cut out another thin strip and I twisted it so the top is twisted on this. For these, I just take a snake of clay in the color you wish. I put that TLS along the top and I wrap it around. Now, here, I cut right where it meets. The TLS helps it stick. Whenever I have baked clay and unbaked clay that I'm trying to attach together, I use the TLS. I use it for food on plates and also for drinks and other items. You want to try to get the rim where it meets to be as seamless as possible. You could rub your fingers around it and some people really like to just leave the rim like this where it's round, and that's good. I don't like having the seam where we met the clay. So once I have it together, I push down with my safety pin. Then I flip to the exact opposite side and push down. Then I go halfway around each side, placing a little indent, and then I do that in the halfway marks all the way around. It kind of gives it like a flower petal look. That one lifted. So it kind of gives it this kind of flower petal look. From here we would cook it again, then we're done. We just need to add the varnish. I'm going to go ahead and show you one that's unvarnished here. So this is a nice pretty swirl. What I do to varnish is, if this is going to be a charm, if it's not going to be a charm, you're limited, but if it's going to be a charm, an earring, part of a necklace, I literally take a safety pin and stab it all the way through. Since it's baked, it's harder to push through. I use my flat nose. And I press it all the way through. So from here I stick a head pin in, and then I varnish it. I have an ear wire that I throw through the... I'll just go ahead and I'll show you real quick. This is already long. It might as well be 1 more minute long. So, here we go. I let it sit for a minute. The clay wants to close up on the circle and shrink, so you need to get the head pin in there. as soon as you can. Then I take my flat nose pliers, I bend it to a 90-degree angle, I take my round nose, I twist my hand backwards to form the loop. There we go. I throw in a ear wire, and from here I'm going to put on some triple thick. This is the varnish I use for gloss ever since they stopped with the, ever since they changed the Sculpey gloss glaze formula. I still like that better, the old version. I'm pretty much out of it now though. I'm hoping one day that Polyform will hear me and re-release it, even if it's under a different name. So if you liked the old Sculpey 2, the old Sculpey gloss glaze that is, contact Polyform and tell them that you would really like it to come back, even if it's in a different name. But I used to make sauces with it. It's actually what I used to make my snow cones with. Now I use the triple thick for my snow cones, but it's not as ideal. So I paint it, but since I am painting it, holding on to everything, at least this way you don't have to let it dry and have a messy varnished bottom. From here you could hang it on an earring rack. I'm going to move the camera here and show you my earring rack. Here's my work area here. Okay, so here's my earring rack. It's what I use for fairs. I have one just for drying my items. So here we go. And sorry about this being such a long tutorial, guys, but I really wanted to show you the whole way that I marble so you can see how many times it takes me to get a result that I'm happy with. How many times I folded it, you'll be able to see that whole thing. And also because I'm not going to do the marbling for the top of my cheesecake brownie. That will be the marbling from this one. So I'll try to do that later today. Thank you so much for watching again. I hope that you like this and it gives you ideas. Change colors. Have fun. Thanks. Bye.